know you've had real encounters with God. Maybe there's a specific moment that changed your life, a time where you felt physically the presence of the Lord. Maybe it led you to tears. Maybe you got chills. Maybe it signifies a moment in your life that everything changed for you. And more than likely, that specific feeling caused some change in your life for a while. And also, more than likely, it died out. And now you're trying to find a way to rekindle that fire for the Lord. And honestly, not just rekindle it for a moment, but create a lifestyle out of it. Well, I'm so excited for this video today, y'all, because I'm going to tell you what led me back to being on fire for God and how God made it into a perpetual lifestyle for me and not just a moment. I honestly have a lot of thoughts in my head, and I was praying before this video that I would be able to communicate what needs to be communicated and hold back what doesn't need to be communicated for the specific video. So before I move on, honestly, those moments of truth, those feelings that you were awestruck with God's power, presence, whatever personal testimony, your experience or miracle that happened in your life, I would encourage you to put in the comment section below for my sake, because it's just amazing for me to see the different ways that God works through his children, how he reveals himself to them, the different miracles that happen. So you also never know how much your story could impact somebody else, or even how much it may impact you by forcing your mind to remember how good God is and how good God was in your life. So the inspiration for this video comes from a quote from Alex Hormozi. If you don't know who he is, he's a business guru. He's a really big content creator. I don't believe he's a man of God, but his words here resonated with me and they're powerful. And I want to share this quote that he said. He said that if you cannot explain a belief that you have, then that means it's not your belief, it's someone else's. And I think this is significant because I believe there are many Christians nowadays, especially my generation, like I would say young adults or even teenagers, who cannot explain the simple truths and doctrines of the Bible. We struggle to understand why the cross is so relevant, why Jesus' resurrection is so relevant, why evil and suffering even exists if a good, powerful, and loving God exists. And these simple things that build our foundation of truth. And in all honesty, I'm not trying to sound demeaning to anybody here because I used to be the same way. It wasn't only until recently when God opened my eyes and allowed me to understand his truth and understand his character more. But in all honesty, I feel like we're like some trust fund Christian babies. And the reason I say that is because we're so privileged. We really don't have to do any work. For a lot of us, we have churches at every corner on the street, which provide like this professional event type concert experience every single Sunday for free. We have pastors that are amazing communicators and content creators and Christian celebrities. We have so many things catered to us in regards to our faith. We have the internet. You can literally search any resource from any theologian or any source of document that you want to reach in regards to building your faith. We have access to so much. And when I look back even just a couple hundred years, the Christians at that time, all they had was the good word. They didn't have the internet. They didn't have large events. A lot of them were even persecuted and had to worship the Lord in private. So therefore, they were forced to build a real faith. We are so privileged in this era, and I honestly believe it may be to our own demise. Because with all this privilege, we have dialed back our surrender and our commitment to the Lord to just a good worship song, a good cry every once in a while when we feel the weight of the world and the burden of our sin. And we don't really understand what it is to have a true, hard-tested, and just solid relationship with Christ. So let me get to a point here. And also, as always, let me open up my good word so you know I'm not just talking on my left cheek, like I like to say. So Proverbs chapter 9, verse 10 says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." So stick with me because I'm going to show you why this verse is so powerful. So let's break this down. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So the fear of the Lord, very often when we think about fear, we think about terror, we think about fright. But in this essence, when you go to different passages in the scriptures where it says like the fear of the Lord is pure, or it talks about the fear of the Lord in other instances, we understand that to be fearful of the Lord is truly to have a realization, or should I say an appropriate realization of who God is, right? And the reason why I say appropriate is because your relationship with Christ will only go as deep as your belief is in him. If you believe that God is only present in certain parts of your life, he's only available for financial provision, then that's the only place you'll see him. That's the only place you'll expect him. That's the only place that you'll have a relationship with him. If you believe that God allows certain things for a certain reason, whatever it is, Your relationship with Christ only goes as deep as your belief is in him. So having an appropriate realization of God's power, of his majesty, is to be able to understand, as far as human limitations will allow you, at how powerful your God is. The fear of the Lord, in other words, the realization of the Lord, is the beginning of wisdom. And it says the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. So really what that is saying is that to know God is to understand God. And to understand God, therefore, is to understand life itself. And in order to understand God, you need to understand his word. Like, think about it. When we say the word history, it's his story. It's about God. This book is stamped, printed literally with his character. It tells us all about him. This is not a book about us. This is a book about God. And therefore, by understanding God more, we can understand who we are more. You cannot understand who you are unless you understand who God is. Guys, I'm telling you, you cannot just trust others on what they say about God. If you are limited to what a Christian celebrity says every time they roll up on your feed, or what even I say on this video, or just a worship song. Now, hear me out. By no means am I saying that edification is not important. It is 100% important to be edified, to make sure that you are constantly receiving truth, that you are going to church, listening to a man of God preach the truth, that you are being edified from the music that you listen to from the content that you consume. People like myself, other Christian YouTubers, other Christian worship artists, or whatever it is, we are instruments to be able to help you be edified. But understand that edification can only happen if there is a substance already there. Otherwise, you're not being edified, you're being emptied. Because edification means that you have already built up a substance and understanding, and therefore you are pruning and kind of just shaving off to build this sculpture of faith with inside of you. But if you have no understanding, you have no truth, you have built nothing up to be edified, that means that everything that is being poured into you is just going through a bottomless pit. And you are constantly being emptied and nothing is being filled up. So I know that I'm kind of rambling and I'm saying a lot right now, but this is one of the main points right here what I'm about to say. Why is this all important? Why is the idea of understanding God so important? Well, if we go back to this verse where it says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And we already said that the fear of the Lord is the realization of God, or in other words, understanding God in his true power, understanding God's true character. So understanding God's true character, according to this verse, is the beginning of wisdom. And what is wisdom? We know that we always say life is made up of the decisions you make, right? Whether good or bad. In wisdom, by definition, is making good decisions. And when you make good decisions, that means that you will have a good life. So what this verse is literally saying is that understanding the Lord is the beginning of a good life. So the decisions you make, you can be confident that you're making appropriate, right decisions for your life because you understand God and therefore understand how God is looking at your life. So he knows, so you know, therefore, what God would want you to do and not want you to do. How God would want you to either wait or push forward, to know whether a door opening in your life is from the Lord or whether it's from your own mind or whether it's from the devil. Being able to understand the Lord is so powerful because it leads you in life because you think like the Lord. You have a heart like him. Guys, this verse is so powerful because it's telling us how to save ourselves from trouble. Most of the time when we're going through deep, dark droughts of faith or depression or anxiety in our life, it's because of the decisions we made or the decisions that others have made. And in other words, bad decisions or evil that has afflicted our life in some way, shape, or form. And if we can learn how to make good decisions or how to have wisdom, if we can learn to understand God, we can save ourselves from so much trouble. And I think to be able to understand God is such a cheat code in life because therefore, when we go through tests, like it says in Romans 5 or James chapter 1, we can rejoice in trials and tribulation because it builds endurance, it builds character, it builds our confidence and hope and salvation. See, the thing about tests is that tests reveal the truth. Tests in life will reveal whether you have a strong, solid, true, genuine faith or whether your faith is fickle, partial, occasional, and not founded in truth at all. And think about, like, for example, an athlete that is prepared and is ready for the test of a game. They're excited because they have an opportunity to prove everything that they have been practicing in private. But for those who are not prepared, they actually shy away from the test of a game because they are nervous and they feel unprepared. So in the same way, like, David prays in the Psalms, like, Lord, test my faith. How many of us actually have enough faith to pray, God, test me? Most of us, God, don't test me. Don't allow this bad thing to happen in my life. Don't allow this thing to crush me down. But if you have a true, prepared, sincere, genuine faith, where you understand the Lord and his perspective, and you know that no matter what, you're going to be okay. When you know the truth of the word, there is nothing in life that can come your way that can actually make you feel like it's going to take you out. Nothing in your life that can condemn you to depression. Nothing in your life that can condemn you to loneliness and isolation and anxiety. When you actually understand the Lord, it gives you freedom in life from anything that could actually happen. And I think this all comes back to a simple practice of us asking ourselves, why? Every single time you do something, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Every time you say something, ask yourself, why am I saying this? When there's a thought in your head, ask yourself, why do I believe this? And sooner or later, you'll start to realize that there are some things that aren't even your belief. I think for a lot of us who are young adults or even teenagers, we go through this process of what I call deconstruction. For myself, I realized when I became a young adult that a lot of the beliefs and the things I said and the things I did were a result of the way that I grew up. And I didn't even know why I did these things. Like, for example, growing up, I wasn't allowed to go to the movies. I just saw the movies as taboo always. You know, it was part of the religious corner that I grew up in, and it just stuck in my family. But then as I grew up, I started asking myself, why don't we go to the movies? And therefore, I was allowed to step back into that part of the world of going to a movie theater, but also doing it with a level of caution because I understood what I should or shouldn't allow myself to do in that scenario. So in the same way, a lot of us are probably built up by beliefs that were dropped upon us as we grew up. A lot of us have church hurt or trauma or an understanding of even Christians or even on men and the opposite gender because of the way that we were brought up. And therefore, now that we are being tested on our beliefs, there are things that are crumbling and things that will stand. So you have to go through this process and rebuild up a truth and understanding based on your own personal experiences. God desires to give you personal experiences to build up a genuine faith with him. And this whole process, yes, it's very uncomfortable because it's like, honestly, an identity crisis. But the beautiful thing is at the other side of this refining process, on the other side of this deconstruction phase, is God saying that I know that my character is true. You can trust in me, and I want you to have a personal relationship. So my encouragement to you today is to ask yourself simple why questions in regards to the gospel and in regards to your belief in your faith. And anytime you can't give an answer, that is your assignment to go and do deeper work. Again, don't just trust the things that I say. Don't just trust the things that you hear from a pastor. Don't just trust the things you hear in a worship song. Understand why you believe what you believe. Why is the resurrection the most essential part of our faith? Why is the cross so powerful? Why is Jesus' birth so essential? Why does evil exist if our God is so loving and so perfect? Why did the flood happen? Why is the nation of Israel so essential to us in our faith? Like, literally, there are so many things, and it's going to be a constant process. Like, there's so many things every single day that I'm reading the word. I'm like, man, why this? Like, why would God do this? And I have to do research, and I'm constantly learning more about God. The more you understand about God, the more that you can make wise choices in life, and the better your life will be. Otherwise, you are just blindly walking through life based on ideologies and things that you've heard that are not concrete, and you don't even know truly if they are real. And therefore, when the testing of life comes, your truth will not stand. Build your life on actual truth and understanding. I hope that this made sense. I hope that this challenged you. And again, my biggest encouragement to you is just to read and understand the word. Start with the questions and curiosities, and then go in the word and actually find the answer so you can be able to explain it for yourself. That is power. That is wisdom. I love you guys so much. Please let me know any questions, any topic ideas, or whatever you have in the comment section below. And stay tuned, because in the next couple of weeks, I have a really exciting announcement I'm going to give you guys. It's going to help you in your faith, and really is just something that God has put on my heart for a long time. So with that being said, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. And I'll see you on the next video. Peace.